Hi, welcome back to the Unnamed Podcast. My name is Chaden Breeding, and I'm once again joined by Nick Yates.
It's a snowy night here in Arkansas.
A little bit of a blizzard, but we brought the content right to y'all.
Yeah, we're back. Episode 2 of the Unnamed Podcast. So, the first episode, what did you think about that?
So I thought, as far as our first podcast ever goes, I feel like we did pretty good. I felt like we talked about some good stuff that definitely needed to be discussed.
Right.
But I feel like we definitely can grow from it.
Yeah. The first episode wasn't even really going to be published at all, but it was just going to be a trial run to see how we did in the podcast world. But I think I liked it so much as the second half of the episode, and it was so good that I feel like it needed to be posted somewhere.
Definitely.
But we really got to talking like how we usually talk, and the first kind of started off like a show almost, but then I feel like it became more of a conversation that we usually have.
Oh, definitely. I feel that, like, in the very first half, it was more of like an icebreaker. We were trying to get our feet wet with it.
Yeah, and that's what the goal was.
But once we started talking, man, it really took off, and I enjoy having these conversations with you, and I'm glad we can share them with other people. So
yeah. Well, I'm excited to get into what we got today. We were going to talk about space a little bit last time, but I think we're going to get into it this time. We got carried away through like education and growing up and crapping our pants last time, so
oh yeah, definitely.
I think we're gonna get into space a little bit of philosophy, maybe some alien talk. But I hope you saw our new profile picture we got. Shaden posted up for us. We were looking fresh in those pictures.
Definitely the fresh profile pic. Needed it.
Nice. So what kind of question? I heard you had a debate that you wanted to maybe talk about, maybe not.
Well, okay, I kind of wanted to dip into like space and like what we think and what we know about space before I actually hit you with this, because I feel like we're definitely going to spawn a good conversation out.
Yeah, we definitely watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Too much.
We kind of have some opposing opinions on like maybe the Earth, maybe Big Bang Theory, space. So what do you got?
So the one thing that I wanted to hit you with right now was the scale of space is absolutely insane and nobody talks about it.
It is.
Do you not agree?
I agree.
So the distance from the Earth to the Moon would take us, with the current technology we have now, about a complete month of a trip forward. A month to get to something that's super close to Earth, right?
Yeah.
To Mars, about 3 years, and that's if all of the...
Hold on. You were talking about going to the moon. So, like, you know, there was a big thing about going to the moon, like whether we really win or not. And I know, growing up, we kind of had suspicion, maybe you not as much as me, that we actually went to the moon.
Yeah.
And I don't know, our growing up in the church in Christianity kind of like deterred us from believing what scientists told us.
I do think that's true, actually.
So, like, what do you think about the Earth? How old do you think the Earth is, first of all?
Ooh.
And do you believe in the Big Bang Theory?
Okay. Well, yes, I do believe in the Big Bang Theory. And I do believe that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old.
4.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't really I used to have a problem with it just because of what Christians in the Christian world of science would tell you, that the Earth is 6,000 years old and that and it's impossible for evolution to be possible and the Bible to be true.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that to be the case. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like a lot of people try to separate religion and science, and to a degree there needs to be a separation, because as much as people can try, you'll never prove religion right? It's a completely faith-based thing. If you have faith in it, and if you can accept Jesus into your heart, if it's Muhammad, you know what I mean? You just have to have that faith. The faith has to be there.
Yeah.
Science, however, it's completely fact-based. We go based on observation, we go based on testing, and we go based on the results that we get.
I think they go really hand in hand too, because when we learn more about the world through like facts and evidence, it helps us to learn more about what we believe through faith. You know what I mean?
True.
We get to see how I believe God created the world, even if I believe that scientists are right when they say the universe was created, however they said it was created, but I believe that driving force is God through it all. So I think they both go hand in hand. I don't know if I believe in evolution. I haven't really looked into it that much, but I don't have a problem if it is true with the Bible also being true.
Well, and you mentioned evolution, and I know you feel similarly about it than I do, like I do. I mean,
Right.
So you can see evolution in your everyday life. You know what I mean? Like, let's take dog breeding for
100%,
example.
yeah.
If you take a Great Dane and you breed it with a Shih Tzu,
Yeah.
both of the genes from those two are going to create similar but a new kind of dog, right?
Right.
You can see that in nature through adaptation. You can see that through what's it called?
Natural selection.
Natural selection.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens all the time. We've seen it.
It's definitely proven.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of Christians actually have the wrong idea about evolution.
Right.
See, because not all evolutionists believe that we all came from monkeys. There are a great deal of them that believe we came from a species of fish. There are a lot of them that believe that we were created in God the way that the Bible describes.
Right.
Evolution is just like a concept. It's just like you can see it for yourself. But yeah, I know you kind of feel similarly about it. We've discussed this before.
Yeah.
And but in my personal opinion, religion and science can go hand in hand, but staying completely separate is the best way to avoid conflict with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I do believe that religion is very faith-based.
Yeah.
You can't prove it, just like you can't have a faith in science. You have to have a knowledge of science. You have to see the data for yourself. It's separate, but it can go hand in hand, depending on how you look at it.
Right.
But I kind of want to get back to what I was saying. So if you go to the moon, it takes you about 1 month.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Have you ever traveled on the Earth for about 1 month?
I'm not.
Never, right? That's insane.
Yeah.
The distance, even though we see it in our night sky and it's pretty big. And if you travel to Mars, with certain calculation, Elon Musk says it'll take us about 3 years. That's the earliest we can get there.
It's crazy.
In
At
3
what
years.
speed, like, rockets are traveling at such high speeds.
Exactly.
And it takes that long. That's just unbelievable. And that's just the moon. That's the closest, like, celestial body in the sky. And there are stars out there that are just trillions of light years away.
There are certain stars that are exactly a light year across, man.
Right.
You know that?
That's crazy.
Our sun is actually a very small star.
Yeah.
That's another thing I kind of wanted to dip into a little bit, man. The size of things in space is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Proxima Centauri, that star is exactly, I think, 8.3 times as large as our sun.
Yeah, and that's a mid-sized star too.
It's mid-sized.
Yeah, that's insane. We were talking about just how spaced out everything is, and like we were talking about the other day, how the stars, some of the stars we see, like the light we see from it, have been traveling for so many years that humans, like 6,000, 10,000 millions of years ago, these stars have been traveling, that light has been traveling that far. Those stars may not exist today. We were talking about that.
So let me ask you this. Have you heard of the time travel conundrum in the scientific community?
I don't think time travel is possible at all.
Now, this is going to blow your mind, and it's so true.
Yeah.
So you know how you were just talking about how it takes light a certain time to travel to Earth, right?
Right.
To meet our eyes. If you were able to somehow teleport to those stars, the light coming back from Earth, would you technically see dinosaurs? Because that light is so old?
I don't know.
Think about that.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited to see the James Webb Telescope.
Ooh, man.
Because they can collect the infrared rays that have been lengthened, the wavelengths of the light from billions of years ago have been lengthened to now they're infrared lights. And this James Webb Telescope has a mirror that can capture these infrared lights, and we can see images from billions of years ago. And they think maybe even like the start of our universe.
That's insane.
That is wild, and I don't know what we're going to see from it, but what if we do, like, what if the Big Bang is seen in this telescope?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy to think about, because cosmic backwave radiation, or background radiation, is the only way that we even theorized about the Big Bang Theory in the first place. And this James Webb Telescope is really going to give us some answers on that.
Yeah, and I was watching some TikToks, and they were, like, in the comment sections when they were talking about it, they were saying, oh, I'm so excited about this because this is going to disprove religion. And all these religious people are not going to know what to do. They're going to be in denial whenever they see the evidence.
Well, it's the same thing with aliens, man. If aliens came down to Earth, do you think that would necessarily disprove religion?
It doesn't disprove anything, and that's where the disconnect between like Christians and atheists and non-Christian people that think that religion and science can't go together, and that's just not true. I don't think.
I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah.
And I think on the flip side, man, I mean, there's some religious people that if they hear anything about Darwin, they're instantly stomping their foot.
Right.
And I hate to see that. I feel like we could grow a lot from each other. Because I feel like a lot of our morals and beliefs definitely stem from religion.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, humans come out the womb knowing that it's like a kind of a taboo to kill somebody, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But knowing the proper way to talk to people, those are the kind of morals that you get from being like a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called. What are they called?
Hindus.
They're called Hindus?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of our morals stem from that. But scientifically, man, I mean, you as a Christian, you can't say that there's no gravity, right?
Right.
But it was the science that discovered the gravity.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like we can grow and learn from each other. I feel like there's a lot of hate when there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree. And science isn't just observing the evidence, but it's guessing the reasons.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's where there's a lot of like distrust, I guess, in the scientific community, because it is a lot of guesses.
Mhm.
But the more you learn about these processes and like going to college and just learning how these scientists come up with some of the like the real world problems, like global warming and stuff, like
Mhm.
just seeing their evidence and the reasons behind why they believe this stuff, it's very convincing, and it's almost like certain in my eyes that they're right.
Okay, yeah, I definitely believe that. If I can see some numbers behind it, for sure, I can buy it a little more. Especially with like bigger concepts and stuff, because I don't know, like definitely I believe that global warming's a problem. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you? Let me ask you this: do you buy into the Big Bang Theory?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I don't know. I don't understand it. I guess that's the biggest part. How everything in the universe could come from a small atom without it being divine in some way.
Well, actually, I've done a little research on Big Bang Theory because I'm kind of interested in it. But so pretty much there was like negatively charged quarks
Right.
floating in the universe, right? They all collect together, and you know atoms are made of quarks. But that's just the thing. We
Yeah.
don't know what goes past quarks.
Well, we
right?
don't really even know, because I've heard quantum physicists talk about how there's infinite number of those subparticles. Like you got quarks and you got, I don't even remember the other ones, but there's like, they've discovered 10 of them. They think they don't even know because it's so small.
Yeah.
But quantum physics is just like, it's just so uncertain right now, and it's just all speculation. And then now scientists who believe in the Big Bang believe that there was something before the Big Bang, and there might have been the Big Bang that they're talking about is the beginning of our universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other Big Bangs maybe that are responsible for other parts of the universe or other universes. They just don't know. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that, I don't know. I think that's what keeps Christians away from agreeing with scientists a lot, because they're constantly adding and constantly changing what they're
Well,
doing,
and that's-
which is part of it.
Yeah, that's the exact thing, because like science is fluid. So
Yeah.
like if tomorrow, if we find out gravity was actually not true, just mathematically, or if we discover it in some way and there's a different way that gravity works,
Right.
the scientific community would instantly adapt to it because
Right.
there's findings behind it. And that's the thing, a scientist will never try to tell you something that isn't scientific. I mean, some will. But for the most part, the scientific community is just going to go hand in hand. They're all one community.
And you said if gravity changes, like gravity changes in the way that we understand it. Not
Yeah.
if you jump in the air, you're still gonna fall. That's always gonna be true.
That's 100%.
But the way that we understand gravity can change, just based on math and calculations that we come up with. So you're right, and scientists can change, and you have to go with it. You have to go with the most likely cause of situations.
Well, it's something scary, man. It's like, gravity, right? If you throw an apple in the air, the apple's going to hit the ground.
Right.
Around a black hole, however, gravity works insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's different, dude. And that's what scientists are working to understand. That's the James Webb's also going to do a lot of deep dive on black holes, because there was an algorithm invented, so now we can photograph them. So I definitely want to understand more about those, because I think out of anything in space, black holes interest me the most.
Yeah. It's interesting. And back on like religion and stuff, like I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he was talking about like he's an atheist, but he don't really like to call himself an atheist because of like the stigma that atheists have and stuff, and
Yeah.
the way they act. And it's the same way like a lot of New Age Christians don't want to be called Christians because of the stigma Christians have. Even though you're a Christian, you're called to be a Christian, but he didn't like it because he don't agree with the Christian and religious people because of that when we don't understand something and when we have no explanation for it, we attribute it to God.
Yeah.
And he was like Isaac Newton. Whenever he was writing, he came up with his own calculus to describe gravity, and he come up with all this math, and he's got all these writings and stuff. And then when he comes to a part that he doesn't understand, he's just like, well, it must be God.
Yeah.
And everybody with dark matter and everything, everybody's like, oh, that could be God. Or what's this white matter? You know what I mean? Or white holes. Like, this could be God. It's as soon as we don't understand something and we don't have an explanation for it, that they attribute it to God, and he doesn't buy it. And I think it's give and take on both sides. I think that Christians should, try to find the evidence for stuff and the reasons for stuff, and I think there are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that God has done that, but also on the other side, that doesn't mean that God can't be the driving force behind everything.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Well, and I find that funny, dude, because Neil deGrasse Tyson is talking about how everything is attributed to God that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And if you look, history repeats itself, because Galileo, he was captured on the island of Cuba before he landed in America.
Right.
And the only reason that he was able to escape was because a solar eclipse happened. And the people on that island believed that their gods were telling them that they have to let him go. They thought that God had took away the sun. They didn't understand what a solar eclipse was. And I feel like we do that a lot. I feel like if a hurricane happens, people are saying it's because God's punishing the mean people. But
Yeah.
if you look everywhere on earth, man, hurricanes happen. There's a tsunami coming for the West Coast right now.
Yeah.
Is that because of God, or is it because natural weather patterns? That's why
And
I
it's the
believe-
same way in like ancient times with Egyptians. Like if the sun was an eclipse, it was because the sun god was at war with another god.
Yeah.
Or there was a drought, it's because the Nile god was displeased or something like that.
Mhm.
And it's been that way when they don't understand something. And the more we've understood about nature, the more those gods become stupid. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And now we don't have a need for all those pantheistic gods because we have an explanation for stuff, or the world
Exactly.
doesn't have a need for them. But so that's why a lot of atheists don't think there's a need for God. It's just because the things we don't understand is not God. It's we just don't understand it yet.
Yeah.
But I disagree with that, obviously. But interesting.
It is an interesting point to bring up, man, because I definitely see the minute you go on Facebook, any kind of natural disaster, it's always because of God,
Yeah.
you know. And, you know, truth be told, you know, you look in Egypt in the Bible in Exodus, right? God brings these plagues upon Egypt to let the people go.
Yeah.
But in the modern era, man, you know, God has had no connection with us other than through the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be a need for God to have any kind of hand in our weather patterns or anything like that. That's why I think there's a very clear divide between
Maybe.
religion and science.
I definitely think God can do it.
Oh, he could.
And I don't know, I can't speak for God that he hasn't done that in the past 1,000 years or so, but I definitely believe he can, and I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the scariest part. We as humans, you know, we're learning. We don't know, and so every human's gonna look for an answer, even if you don't have one.
Yeah, I had a professor. He's one of my favorite professors as far as like philosophy goes. His theology was a little messed up, but he believed that God was just more hands off on the world. He made the world and created things, and then when people they try to attribute bad things to God, and that's where they go wrong, because it wasn't God that caused it. You know what I mean? He just created the world. I don't agree with that, obviously, but it's interesting to think about the way that a lot of people believe like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That God is just. How do you believe in a God necessarily when in this belief he's more hands off? I don't really know. But
Well, I mean, that is an interesting point. I mean, if you look in the Bible, it doesn't seem like God was very hands-off.
No, definitely not.
But especially in the modern era, I do feel like it is more of a hands-off approach.
Maybe. But I don't know.
Well, okay. Just kind of hopping off the religion topic a little bit.
Yeah.
I mentioned black holes. Now, I know we've talked a little bit about it, but I kind of wanted to explain it out a little bit. You've heard of the theory of white holes, haven't you?
Heard you talk about it, mention it.
Okay. So in physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, correct?
Right.
We find this in space, we find this in nature, we find this in our own we find this in energy, we find this in interactions. It's always proven true. It's a law of nature, right? So a black hole is an object in space. It's the reason why galaxies spiral. It's the reason why they always have a middle point, because that is a black hole. And black holes, what do? They suck up everything, right?
Sure.
They suck up everything, including light. That's why it was so hard to get a picture of a black hole. Now, on the opposite end of a black hole, obviously no one's ever seen it. The theory of white holes blows my mind, man, because a lot of scientists are attributing white holes to the reason why the Big Bang Theory even happened in the first place.
Yeah.
So whenever you go into a black hole, the gravity is strong. The pull force of gravity is so strong that it breaks anything into a string of atoms, a long spaghetti noodle of atoms. Comes out the other side, and once they're atoms, man, they're no longer elements or anything. They're just raw matter.
It's crazy.
And so on the other side of that, when a black hole sucks up, a white hole pushes out. So on the opposite end, it's giving out all the light that the black hole sucked up. It's giving out all of the matter that a black hole sucked up. And it's not proven, but with this James Webb Telescope, I think we'll definitely get a better insight on it.
And they get that from do you really know what theory of relativity is? Like before, I don't know. No one really understands that, I don't think. And what it is really is that he come up with that energy and matter are equal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like you're saying, like these elements, they're not even elements anymore. They're strung out. And they're pushed through as energy because matter and energy are equal.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's interesting.
It is very interesting.
It's so cool.
It is. See, something that kind of blew my mind is that matter is anything that takes up space and has mass, right?
Right.
Fire is something that kind of blows my mind, because I feel like definitely a theory of relativity can definitely be described by fire.
Yeah.
So if you look at fire, man, fire's a three-dimensional thing. You can look all around and the fire's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
It takes up space and it has matter. It definitely has matter in it, but it's not technically matter.
Does fire take up space?
Fire does take up space.
Really?
Because anything a fire is burning with, the fire shoots up and it takes up oxygen molecules and puts off carbon. So there's a constant exchange of gases in it. So therefore, it takes up space.
So wait a minute. The fuel takes up space. So you got the wood that takes up space.
The fuel does, but
It's matter, and then you have the gas.
is
Oxygen
gas not
that's
matter?
turned into carbon dioxide. That does matter. But what is like the flame itself? Is that the energy?
The flame itself is the constant exchange of oxygen into carbon dioxide.
Right. That's crazy.
Because the carbon is being off-put by the fuel,
Yeah.
the oxygen is being taken in from the atmosphere, and the output is carbon dioxide.
Well.
Yeah.
We sound like stoners talking about that.
We definitely do, man. But it really does blow my mind. I like thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the butterfly effect?
What do you mean?
So
yeah. Like butterfly flaps its wings causes a hurricane.
Mhm.
In what sense? What are you talking about?
So, let's say a decision made by a certain man, killing a certain Archduke Francis, spawns a whole World War I.
Oh yeah.
If there was no hit put out on Archduke Francis, there would be no World War I, correct?
Yeah, definitely possible.
The butterfly effect kind of blows my mind, just like space facts.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about, because anything happens, man. If you look at, was it John Wilkes Booth that assassinated Lincoln?
Yeah.
If he didn't kill Lincoln, what else would Lincoln have accomplished?
Right.
Right?
It's
a butterfly effect.
It definitely happens in, I guess, the big things like putting a hit on somebody and an assassin killing a president. Like that's a big deal. But yeah, I definitely think it happens in everyday life. Like you choose to be nice to somebody or mean to somebody, and that could spiral out and have a butterfly effect in their life.
Why do you think Adolf Hitler happened? Okay. A good butterfly effect. In World War One, the Spanish army advanced on the Germans,
Yeah.
wiped them all out. There was one lone man in a bunker, and he didn't have a gun.
Yeah.
There was a Spanish soldier who decided to let him run away. You know who that man was?
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler, the one that was able to run away. The one man out of that entire army that was wiped out.
Right.
And had that Spanish man not have killed Hitler right there, obviously Holocaust happens, right?
Right.
But he didn't kill him, Holocaust happens. If he did kill him, no Holocaust, no World War II even.
Or does it? Yeah.
It's an insane butterfly effect. If you could just go back and change one small decision, it saves millions upon millions of lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that blows my mind. So, are you a believer in the butterfly effect in the sense that you believe big decisions change lives, or do you
I believe every decision does.
every decision?
And I don't really think that, I don't know, like if one thing doesn't happen, say you go back and change something like that, who's to say it doesn't, something else happens, you know what I mean?
Sure.
There's just no telling. Yeah, I definitely believe it. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I was definitely happens every day.
Little philosophical point for you. Do you believe in any other philosophies, like similar to the butterfly effect? Do you think about any kind of philosophical points?
Philosophical, more on effects. You were talked about the Mandela effect.
The Mandela, that's a creepy
That's
one.
not really philosophy, but dude, it's kind of crazy.
It's kind of creepy.
Do you remember any like crazy ones? I know
The Berenstain
the
Bears.
Berenstain Bears. It's the Berenstein.
Yeah.
With an EI. We actually, me and my brother's wife, my sister-in-law, we talked about a roller coaster at Silver City. You know about the roller coasters there?
I've actually never been there.
Well, there's a roller coaster there called the Wildfire, and me and her both vividly remember that ride being like an invert ride, meaning you hang off of the rails and your like legs are hanging off you. But it's definitely not. We were watching videos on it the other day,
It's not?
and we like can vividly remember that it being like that. And like, what are some other ones? Like the Monopoly Man with the monocle.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have a monocle.
That one blew my mind.
That's kind of crazy.
The Monopoly Man having a monocle, I was so sure of that.
Yeah.
Is it Jiffy or Jif? Peanut butter.
I remember being Jiffy.
I remember it being Jiffy from when I was a kid.
But I think that one is you're mixing Jif and
Jiffy Pop, probably.
Skippy.
Or Skippy. Skippy peanut
Yeah,
butter.
Skippy
sure,
and
yeah.
Jif. You're mixing those up. That's definitely possible. There was one more that the emoji of the robber. Do you remember that? Like
Yeah.
he's like running away with the bag. That definitely exists. Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
I gotta pull up that. But that one was insane. Like you can pull it up and everybody remembers it.
Yeah, the robber emoji, and people are saying that never existed.
That one, and then like that one.
That one's the one show
one
the
out there?
camera, yeah.
Yeah, like. Do y'all remember this?
The guy running away with the bag.
Like it definitely existed, but it never existed. That's insane.
That's insane.
That one blew my mind.
Like
When I saw it for
Mandela.
the first time.
The whole reason it's called the Mandela effect is because he became president of which country?
South Africa.
It was South Africa. Yeah, he became president of that country during a certain time period. But at that same time period, if you look, he was serving jail time, man.
Right.
He was in jail.
Well, he died in. When did he die?
It was early 1900s.
No.
Wasn't it?
He died recently.
Recently?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was something like. Hold on, let me look it up.
The Mandela effect is creepy, though. Because the things that you think you know every day are really just not true. And that's the kind of things that have me shook. Because like the Monopoly Man, I was so convinced the man had a monocle. I could have swore he did.
Yeah, so he died in 2013. And then this is when this theory arose because everybody vividly remembered Nelson Mandela dying in 1980.
Yeah.
I guess that was when he was started serving his jail time or something like that.
Yeah, man.
I don't really know, but
I remember
that's insane.
ages of people when they die. That kind of trips me out, too. Like, when you think of Pablo Picasso, do you think of him in the era of, like, Raphael and Michelangelo and stuff? But he died in 1982.
He's a new age.
Like,
that's pretty crazy.
that blows my mind, too.
Or there was another one that was Rosa Parks was still alive when somebody I can't remember what it was. It was something like, I gotta find that chart that would distort your sense of time or something like that.
Dude, did you know that Martin Luther King and Anne Frank were born in the same year and the same month?
Yeah, that was one of them, definitely.
Anne Frank and Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't find it, but there was one of them that was like Rosa Parks was still around when somebody was around. I can't remember.
Those blow my mind, man, because it's like you look at historical time figures, like you look at Anne Frank, she was a child.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive in the 60s.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But they were born on the same year, on the same month.
Yeah, Rosa Parks died in 2005.
What?
So she was still alive when we were born?
Are you kidding?
No.
She died in 2005?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's insane.
That is insane. Okay. So, what do you think about infinite space? I know I keep jumping around. I just want to pick your brain about this.
Space?
So, I just want to know, do you believe that space is infinite, personally?
Ah, dude. I don't really know. I don't think it's infinite.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I don't think there's such thing as infinity.
You were kind of giving me a little bit of a theory on that. What was that?
Well, there's no such thing as an actual infinity. There's only such thing as a potential infinity.
Right.
Because, I mean, you can only think of a number. You can only think of an actual number.
True.
You can't think of infinity.
You were saying something about stars in the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a way that they found out that there was a start to our universe. Because if the universe is rapidly expanding and new stars are forming, and that's happened an infinite number of times, and the sky would be white with stars. Our night sky would not be dark, it'd be white with stars. Because there'd be an infinite amount of time for these light to travel across the universe and reach us.
Very true. If you look at our observable universe, right?
Yeah.
I think the actual diameter of it is about, if I'm not mistaken, 37 billion light years across.
From what we can see.
Yeah, and that's observable with the James Webb telescope. It'll be a little different, but
maybe.
So if you look, there are certain stars that we don't see in our night sky. We can only see them through telescopes that we've observed with.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know. I don't really buy into that necessarily. The sky would be white with stars, is because like there are definitely stars that we don't see in our night sky, right?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Distances affect light.
Yeah.
Like there are certain stars whose light has never even touched Earth, and it's still traveling towards Earth, right?
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Because there hasn't been enough time.
There hasn't been enough time. Because a light year is how many years?
If the universe was infinite and it never had a beginning, then they would have been here. The light would have reached here by now. If there's an infinite time.
The distance of space is insane. What makes you
I'm saying if there was never a beginning, that's not really the same thing as the universe is infinitely long, as there was never a beginning to the universe. Like a lot of people were saying that there was never a start to the universe and it's just been going on forever. And that's the way they disproved that there was a beginning of the universe, is because of that.
Okay.
So if it was infinitely long in time, then the light would have been able to reach Earth by then.
Okay. Well, I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. I really do.
Yeah.
We
sound like idiots because we know nothing.
Oh, we know nothing. That's just the whole point, though. We're just a couple of regular guys just talking about different topics, you know.
Honestly, this is exactly how our conversations go about space.
Yeah.
We know absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Well, I talk about it.
I want to dabble into something with you.
Like what?
Are aliens real? Yes or no?
Aliens?
Just in your personal opinion.
I don't see why not. I was actually listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I kind of like him.
I do too.
I like the way he talks.
He's a likable guy.
But he made a valid point, and he said that we live in a time with great cameras, high resolution cameras in our pockets, that everybody owns one.
Mm-hmm.
And if UFOs really did exist and aliens were really on the planet, then we would have better footage of them. And now, IG Live and Facebook Live is such a big deal that someone could just go live if they were getting abducted by an alien, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, the people that claim to be getting abducted, that they took their camera or something like this, or it seems that the only footage of UFOs we got are Navy SEALs with the little whatever camera, trash cameras.
Yeah.
And he was like, I mean, it's just a little sus that we don't have any. Like, if someone lived a video of getting abducted by an alien, even if it went off live, like, in 20 seconds, that thing would go viral, you know what I mean?
Definitely would.
And that's, like, I kind of agree with that.
Well, okay, I'm not talking about have aliens visited Earth. I kind of wanted to get into that. But
Yeah.
do you believe in aliens?
I mean, yeah. why not?
Extraterrestrial beings?
I mean, well, I kind of have opposing opinions about that.
Okay.
Because if the universe is infinite, then yeah, sure, why not, right? Why wouldn't they exist?
True.
If it's possible, then it's 100% chance, right? If the universe is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like thinking about like Christianity and like God and stuff, it's kind of, I don't know, it's interesting to think that we may be significant, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's constantly what scientists are telling you, that we're just kind of an insignificant, like, ball of dirt, you know what I mean? And yeah, we were a rare chance, but we're still just a ball of dirt out in the sky. There's really no purpose. And I don't know, when you read the Bible and stuff, and it's kind of hard to buy that, and it's easier to buy, maybe we are significant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe there was a purpose behind us. Maybe we are the only ones.
So I didn't get an answer out of you. Do you believe in aliens?
I mean,
I just need yes or no.
yes or no?
Yeah. Personally, I know you don't know it. Nobody does know it.
I don't know. I think I would have to have some experience to actually believe something.
Okay.
I can't just say I believe in stuff necessarily.
Okay.
Maybe. I didn't say I had to see to believe it. I just have to experience something enough to believe it.
Okay.
I could say I believe them, but until I experience something, I don't think I would.
Something crazy to me is that the way that scientists discover planets is because planets don't give off light. We discover them based on how much of the light they're receiving from their stars.
Right.
So every day there is new planets being discovered.
Right.
One of these days, I feel as though there's too many stars. There's too many planets we have yet to discover for there to not be aliens.
Right.
We're a rare chance, true, but as far as how big the universe is that we can even see, our observable universe, and it's much bigger than that, because there are certain dots of stars on the edge of what we can see. So therefore, there's planets that's rotating around them that we can't even see.
Yeah.
I mean, even Proxima Centauri, there was a planet discovered there a couple of months ago that we didn't even have a clue about. There's a theory that in our own solar system, there is a planet that we have yet to discover because it has always been outside of the sun's light.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the theory of that?
Have you seen this picture from the Hubble telescope? Those are all Milky Ways, like not Milky Ways, but galaxies.
Yeah. That's ridiculous, man. That's insane.
And how the Hubble telescope captured these is because it like has these giant lenses, right?
Mhm.
And all this light doesn't travel there immediately. It takes like a lot of time. So they left these giant lenses on this telescope open for years. Like, I don't know how long they left it open for. Like, I think it was like years long, or at least months long, to let as much light as possible in. And then when they gathered these pictures, you could actually see all of these different. It almost looks fake, but those are each galaxies, not stars. Galaxies.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really crazy to think about. In my opinion, bro, just looking at that picture, that's just a dot. That's just one sector that we're looking at. If you look 360 degrees all around the Earth, you'll see that all around.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there are too many planets. There are too many stars. There are too many galaxies. We're a rare chance, but rare chances happen every day that you look at.
For sure. It's interesting. I don't know what I believe about aliens, though.
But I do kind of buy what you say with the have aliens visited Earth. I don't believe that the physics would allow for it. But then again, I'm coming from a 21st century human, right? There may be technologies that we have yet to even tap into.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, you can't make physical matter travel light years, because the strain on any kind of physical matter traveling light years, there's a reason why it's called light years, is because only light does it.
Yeah.
Right? You can't take a ball and make it travel 1 light year in one direction in 1 second, right? In order for aliens to be able to reach us, they would have to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's what's scary.
That's a gap.
Yeah.
Us, it would take, I think, 48 light years to reach the closest galaxy to us.
Yeah.
And do you know how many years is in a light year?
Yeah.
About 1 trillion, right? Over 1 trillion.
How many what?
How many years are in a light year?
Well, it's 1 year. How many like miles you mean? Or like
A light year is a distance, right?
yeah.
How
How far
many-
light can travel in a year? Yeah.
But how far is that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, trillions of miles. Like yeah,
Trillions of miles.
I think.
Think about
trillions,
that.
Something like
The
that.
closest galaxy to us is 48 light years away.
Yeah, and how do we know that if like? That's why I keep saying if the universe is that big, 'cause I really don't know.
Mhm.
I want to talk about something else in a minute
Okay.
about like flat Earth theory,
Oh, okay.
and it kind of disproves everything. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so if the or maybe there is a civilization out there that is 4.5 billion light years away.
Mhm.
How do we? They don't even know we exist.
Exactly.
They don't even see us yet because they're 4.5 billion years away.
There's a debate going on in their planet right now.
So
that-
it kind of limits what aliens could come within the next year or so, because they would have to be within 4.5 billion light years to even see us. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
and to think, yeah.
Those are huge
I mean,
numbers.
on their planet, man, they're having this exact debate right now. Are the
Maybe.
aliens real?
yeah,
Have the aliens been to our planet?
freaking smoking dope.
It's
Talking
insane.
about this.
Yes, space dope. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, what was I gonna say about? Okay, so flat Earth theory gets a ton of like flack, and I thought it was very interesting when I like researched it and stuff.
Yeah.
People laugh at it like, oh, you're stupid, but it's kind of just taking back. Like, all right, let's step back from being trusting and listen to all these scientists and stuff, and let's just go on what we know. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What I know is what I see is the Earth is flat. That we are all we have. We have the moon and the stars and the sun in the sky. But how do we know that those stars are balls of gas that are bigger than our sun? Or how do we know the sun is that big? Or how do we know anything?
Mhm.
And it's not God. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe.
Is that the flat Earth theory? Is that it's God?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. It's more that we are more significant than just a ball of dirt flying through the air.
Okay.
And it was kind of come about just because it was to go against that idea that, and they kind of taken over by conspiracy theorists
Mhm.
that just believe that scientists are out to destroy the world and take over the world and just want to make us like sheep and believe that we're insignificant and nothing really matters and they can just tell us what to do. That's how it kind of came about and kind of had a bad stigma about it. But it's an interesting thing to think about, and like for the longest I had trouble believing in the moon landing, whether that was real or not, because
Yeah.
like I haven't been to the moon.
No, I definitely haven't.
I haven't been to Japan either. Like, how do I know that exists? But I have no problem in believing in Japan.
Yeah.
And that's what, I started becoming a little more trusting human being, I guess. But until I see it, it's hard to believe it.
So, do you think the flat Earth theory is more of a physical theory about the flatness of the Earth, or do you think it's more philosophical?
It's more philosophical, I think, definitely.
Okay. I've heard each side of the coin on that. I think a flat Earth physically.
Yeah, there's definitely both sides of it, I think.
Yeah, I think a flat Earth physically could definitely be disproven. As a
Yeah.
person,
Maybe.
I've been on a ship, right?
Yeah.
I've been on the southern tip of Florida on a ship. You can see the ocean, right? The ocean has a curve to it the more you look out.
Kind of.
Not kind of. I saw it for myself.
I've been in like an airplane though, and it looks pretty flat to me.
In an airplane up in the air, but when you're down on a ship, you got to keep in mind the sea is completely flat, right? That's why it's called a sea level. If you look out into the horizon, you could see that the Earth actually has like a little...
I mean, you can see the horizon. You really can't see that.
But why is the horizon curved if the Earth is flat?
But you wouldn't even be able to see the curve of the Earth from what you can see at sea level.
But I could.
You'd be able to see it more high up. And I've seen pictures of like top of Mount Everest, the highest point on the Earth, and like, I don't know, it's kind of sus. I think it's interesting to, I don't know, I don't really care either way.
It's definitely interesting.
I don't think
to think
it
about.
matters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the big thing about like space talk and stuff. It really doesn't affect us. So it's kind of hard for me to like, it's fun to talk about, and I've enjoyed this conversation, but it's hard for me to really have a strong opinion either way, because I don't think it really matters.
Oh, at the end of the day, none of it really matters. But in my opinion, I think the human purpose is to gather as much knowledge as we can about the things around us.
Perhaps.
From a purely human point.
Perhaps.
What would you think the meaning of life is?
The meaning of life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in your personal
The
opinion.
meaning of life.
Because I think everybody has a different definition on the meaning of life. That's mine. I think humans were put here to gather information about everything around us and to learn and to grow.
Yeah.
Think about it. In 50 years, man, we went from using fax machines for everything to having miniaturized computers in our pocket with more computing power than what put the rocket on the moon.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I feel like we've definitely kind of reached our purpose, you know what I mean? And I feel like our purpose grows every single day with that.
Perhaps.
What do you think
What do I think the purpose of life is?
the purpose of our human life is?
Our human life.
You could obviously use religion.
Yeah.
You could obviously use anything else.
I think
yeah.
that's the only answer is I think humans are created to have fellowship amongst us and God.
I can respect
That's
that.
why we were created. And I don't know, you can't really, I think separating it is where the problems in humanity have come from.
Okay. Well, you know, I mean, I definitely, I respect that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I feel like everybody just kind of like a different definition of it.
Right.
I just think that's kind of interesting to think about
It
because
definitely is.
if you look at it from a scientific point of view, everything means nothing at the end of the day, right?
Right.
If you look at it from a religious point of view, everything means something at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is two very opposing viewpoints. Here lately, especially getting to college and doing my own research and stuff like that, I've kind of grown into a more scientific brain.
Yeah.
I would say I
I
definitely...
think I am too, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Just looking at things objectively.
Yeah.
I never just want to buy into something 100% and never give any kind of
Right.
research into it.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, it's like curiosity killed the cat. I feel like humans are naturally curious, and there's a
Yeah.
reason for that.
Yeah. But also, I mean, there is reasons why I believe what I believe about the purpose of our life, and it's because like you see like people all over the world have depression, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like so doom and gloom, but like everybody wants to be happy, everybody wants to be with people, no one wants to be alone, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And those things, you know, it just kind of all points to religion and what God wanted originally and what the story of the Bible teaches.
Okay. Well, okay. What was the book that we read with George and Lenny? You remember about the rabbits?
Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men.
Yes.
So at the end, sorry for the spoilers, but at the end, whenever George...
You've had a long time to read it. So.
Yeah, you've had many years. But
In the 50s?
yeah, it was written in the 50s. But
Maybe not that.
at the end of the book, George is about to kill Lenny, right? And he
Yeah.
tells Lenny to think about the rabbits. He gives him that false hope and then takes away his life, right?
Very sad.
When you're a kid, your parents tell you that Santa Claus is real, right?
Right.
And I'm not trying to tread into this territory,
Oh, yeah.
but it's just like it's a false hope thing, and I feel like I'm not saying religion isn't real. I'm saying I think a lot of people use religion in the wrong way.
Maybe.
I feel like a lot of people use it as sort of like a hope because they're depressed, instead of using it because the goal of Christianity, for instance, at the end of the day, your goal is to please God. Your goal is to live by God's will, right?
Right.
A lot of people, I don't think, live like that.
Definitely.
And in my opinion, I do see both viewpoints. I think that a lot of people buy into religion just for the simple aspect of they're able to sleep better at night.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's why you should be able to buy into religion.
Oh, definitely not.
And I think that's why they're coming back to this debate. I think that's why there is a clear divide between the scientific community and the religious community.
Right. And I was watching, I don't know if you ever watched Rhett and Link, and where they talked about their spiritual deconstructions.
Mm-hmm.
Someone walking up. Jeez, that was terrifying.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Oh gosh. What were we talking about? Rhett and Link. Okay, so Rhett, they're agnostic now. They grew up in Christian homes and they were Southern Baptist, just like us. And the reason that, well, he was talking about it the other day, and he was talking about how this Christianity is so easy to buy into because it, like, when there's an ultimatum between eternal punishment and eternal, like, happiness and heaven, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to buy into because I'm turning down something that's infinitely horrible and miserable, and accepting something that's infinitely good. And it's a very easy decision to make.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem that he found in it, and why, because he made a good point, and I thought this was very interesting, in that we don't believe in the Muslim hell or the Muslim heaven. So, like, he doesn't really have a problem in saying no to it because it's just another one he's adding. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
If you say no to the Christian heaven and hell, and he's like, you don't believe in all those heaven and hells, and you don't have a problem with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
That's why I do believe that faith is the biggest player in religion.
Yeah.
Because a Christian could have just as much faith as a Buddhist, right?
Right.
But it's a very personal thing. Like Christianity especially, because with Christianity, it's a personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
So it's very faith-based. It's got to be you and him. It can't be something that you can mathematically prove. It's just got to be a relationship that you have through your prayer.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it's the same thing across the board.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I can't sit here and preach religion because I definitely don't know enough about it to do that.
Yeah.
But I just like dabbling in those kind of ideas.
Yeah, and
it's interesting.
I took world religions this semester, and I don't know. I used to kind of think, I knew there was differences, and that Christianity seemed like the best option.
Mm-hmm.
There's not options, but it seemed like this was, you know, we got it figured out. You know what I mean? But then actually diving into each religion and like how they kind of got off. You know what I mean? And it's hard to be like, oh, we're right, you know what I mean? And we got the right religion, thankfully. You know, it's always, we ended up with the right one.
Mm-hmm.
But breaking down each religion, we really do got the right one, I think.
You think so?
I'm pretty convinced that ours is, we got the truth.
So let me ask you this, just in your personal opinion. I don't know if you know a whole lot about it or not. So Christianity went from being just Judaism, right? They wrote the Torah. They lived by the Torah. Christianity comes along because the New Testament comes along, because Jesus comes to earth, right?
Yeah.
And then in the Muslim text, the complete religion of Islam comes from Muhammad, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why do you find the stopping point with Jesus? Why not Muhammad?
Well, if you actually look into it, like, Muhammad was kind of crazy.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get into it. I don't really know much about it. Like, I learned a lot about it in school, but Muhammad was definitely not. He was not a good religious moral person.
Okay.
And I don't know. There's a bunch. There's definitely ulterior motives, I believe, behind it. And they think that there was ulterior motives with, like, the way Christianity started, because they believe that, like a lot of people believe, that it never explicitly says in the Gospels that Jesus is God, and that Jesus, because they believe in Jesus and that he was a good prophet in the Muslim culture, whatever, in Islam, whatever. And but they believe where Christianity went wrong is because of Paul, and Paul, like, came up with all this stuff that Jesus is God, and he made his own religion, and that Jesus would not approve of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that Paul created his own new wave to, like, elevate himself, but which I think is kind of stupid, because Paul literally died, and, like, all these people died for what they believed in. So I definitely don't think it's a good argument, but it's interesting to think about. And it's everybody. It's crazy how people can twist, a little something, just to, I don't know, prove their point. And whole cultures, whole religions, and whole countries can base what they believe on this stuff.
Yeah.
Same way with people that are Christians. They don't know what they believe in.
I don't think so. I don't think a lot of people that call themselves Christians really know what they believe in.
Definitely. And especially, like, they read their Bibles in English text and they think those are the words that God spoke. You know what I mean? And they get into it without understanding, like, how we get the translation of the Bible that we have today in, like, the Hebrew and Greek text. And how textual criticism was done. And people just don't even get into it. And they just take what they have for granted almost. And they don't really know anything that they know.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming and let me pick your brain a little bit. You know what I mean? I think we've kind of reached a stopping point.
Yeah, we didn't really have any funny moments. It was a good, deep, religious and scientific talk.
I do think so. Well,
we don't know a whole lot. We said I don't know a lot, which we're 19, so
exactly. I feel like if you don't know, just say I don't know, rather than acting like you do know, right?
Yeah. If you made it this far, leave in the comments below what we should talk about next, and we still need a name for the channel, so let us know.
Well, guys, I'm Chaden Breeding, and this is Nick Yates, and we do appreciate you. Y'all stay blessed.
Peace out, guys.